Live. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the Centrist, and for those of you who don't know, for those of you who this is your first time on the channel, what I do is I am a part-time speedrunner, part-time deathless challenge runner. So I'll pick up a game, I'll beat it without dying, and then I will see what I can do for a speedrun. And I have recently just finished, or I'm close to finishing, Arkham Asylum. I worked for a long time on a deathless run, just finished that, and I'm currently working on a sub 3 hour 100% glitchless run, which my last run came in on 3:02. Very sad. It was very, very close. I had some trouble with Killer Croc, no surprise. But I am today interviewing one of the top Arkham Asylum runners and just general Arkham runners that exist in speedrun community. Is it ShikenNuggets?
Yeah.
Thank you. So for those of you who don't know, ShikenNuggets is one of the top Arkham runners. I believe you actually play every single Arkham game.
That's correct. Well, all the main series ones, I should say.
Yes, there is new stuff in theory, but is that stuff going to be part of the Arkham collection? I think Gotham Knights or
Gotham Knights is a completely standalone thing that has nothing to do with Arkham in any way. The Suicide Squad game is technically Arkham canon, but it like will be its own thing.
it seems like a pretty distinct type of game as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, but I guess my first question, as someone who speedruns games at a very high level, why do you do this to yourself? Why do we do this? It's we take a game, we beat it. Most people would say, "Congrats," you move on to the next one. And something about it is like, no, I can't leave it there. I could do better. How did you get into speedrunning?
Well, I just saw like some GDQ runs for the first two runs I saw were Arkham City and Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, and those were both games I loved playing as a kid. And just like generally playing the Arkham games, I like would constantly play them over and over again because they're just my favorite games. They're so much fun. And
Mm-hmm.
then I realized that like you could actually do speed runs, and it wasn't just like this magical thing happening somewhere. It was like you just play the game fast. So I got into it, and then that was like 5 years ago, and been doing it ever since.
I had watched speedruns for a while. My first introduction was also a GDQ. I don't know. I think 2012 GDQ, or maybe 2013, something like that. And it just seemed like on such a pedestal for me that these guys, they're the best. They're the top tier. I could never possibly speedrun any games like them. And I found this is kind of a weird story, but I used to play Hill Climb 2 a lot, the app. Um, and I found a speedrun site sometime around 2017, 2016 maybe, where people were putting their high scores in Hill Climb 2, and I was looking at them and I was like, man, my high score is way better than all this. And so that was maybe the first moment I knew I could do this. And the first run I ever tried to do, I ever streamed, the first game I ever streamed in my life was Arkham Asylum.
Hmm.
And that was on a separate channel, which technically exists on Twitch, but I'm not going to tell you where or what it is. It's a mystery. If you can find it, you get a gold star. But yeah, it was just really exciting and really fun, and my first streams were absolutely terrible. Just pure garbage. But I had fun playing Arkham. So one of the interesting things I think about Arkham and the Arkham games in general, and this was maybe my experience playing them, was that they were one of the first really story-driven games that I had ever played. You play before that I played, some Call of Duty and Halo multiplayer and stuff like that. I played Zoo Tycoon and Mario 64, but no one's turning on Mario 64 and saying, wow, the character development that Mario goes through is just incredible. Just a completely different character, you know.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that really attracted me to Arkham Asylum. What was it that, and so going back way before speedrunning, what was it that got you to play Arkham in the first place?
Um, well, I've always loved superheroes, as you can see from all the things behind me.
Yes.
Um, and obviously Batman is one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's kind of a funny story actually. So I was getting a PlayStation 3 and I really wanted the Captain America game that was coming out as it was a tie-in for the 2011 movie. And
Uh-huh.
even though like all the reviews and stuff said it was terrible, I didn't care. I thought it looked awesome and I wanted it. So we go to the store to buy a game. That game was $40 and Batman Arkham Asylum was $20. And my mom convinced me that we should do Arkham Asylum because we know that game's good. Because like I'd heard
Mm-hmm.
about it and it sounded pretty interesting.
That's awesome. Purely for financial selfishness. Your mom's like, this game is worthless. I could talk about terrible game pricing for so long, Like some of the best games ever you can buy for $5 on Steam. You can get trash for loads. And then of course every Nintendo game is $60 no matter what it is.
Of course.
So I've gotta ask you this. about the story section. And before this, so I'll give my little story first of what my favorite moment ever playing Arkham Asylum was the first time I ever played it. And everyone has, great memories of the first time they ever played it. And for me, my PS3 was very finicky. It had a lot of problems, and occasionally it would crash. You already know where this is going.
Of course. Yeah.
So at the start of Scarecrow 3, when it simulates a crash, I was like, this is terrible, my game's over, and I just turned off the PlayStation 3 to reset it. Right before the screen came back. Like, it was too late to stop it. I was like, no! And that was my first true troll in a video game. Did something similar happen to you, or was that spoiled for you before
I basically knew the entire plot of the game before I played it. So I did know about that, unfortunately. However, I did there was a time I was playing through it with a friend, I was getting all the achievements for them on their Xbox.
Uh-huh.
And it was like 3 a.m. He was like asleep, and we got to the fake game crash, and I'm like, dude, your Xbox red ringed. And he like immediately wakes up and is like super panicked.
Oh, it's a horrifying thing. One of my earliest accomplishments was 100%ing in a single run Arkham City, and that took me like 13 hours. And around hour 9 was the time my PS3 finally overheated. That was it, and I decided I needed to just buy all the games I already owned, just buy them on Steam.
Yeah. All
right, so given that you play a bunch of different Arkham games, this brings up sort of an issue an interesting aspect of speedrunning that I've encountered so far. So far I've interviewed a Mirror's Edge speedrunner. There's 2 games in the Mirror's Edge catalog. I've interviewed a Jedi Fallen Order speedrunner, and there's only 1 game so far. There will be a second coming up. But you actually play 4 different games, which are essentially in the same series, but have key differences between them. For anyone who doesn't know, if you play Arkham Asylum, the combat is similar, but definitely different, less expansive to Arkham City. I'm not as familiar with Arkham Origins, but then I also know Arkham Knight has a lot of, it even takes Arkham City combat and expands it even more. It gives you more potential options.
Yeah.
So what is it like swapping back and forth? How do you manage that? Do you devote an entire month to just one game, and then you go to Arkham City or Arkham Origins? Or can you just jump back and forth and reset your brain every time?
I think I'm pretty good with just remembering the differences and having muscle memory individually for each game. Occasionally there'll be a mess up. I've been playing City a little bit, but before that I was playing Asylum for a really long time. So every time I try to equip the line launcher, I press the wrong key. Which is a little annoying because it's 5 in Asylum, but it's 8 in City.
My favorite move in City is the line launcher slam.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or I suppose it's not the line; it's the grapple slam. I forget.
Oh yeah, that's also good. But yeah, I think for the most part, I don't have too much trouble switching now, just because I've jumped around quite a lot. I've even done anthology runs, just playing all 4 games back to back.
Oh man, how long does that take?
My anthology 90% was it under 6 hours? That sounds right.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have a favorite game or an order of games that you think are better than others?
I definitely used to. City was my favorite for a really long time, and that was the game I ran the most by far. Mm-hmm. But nowadays, I really appreciate all the games for different reasons, and I don't even feel the need to compare them or rank them or anything. They're all great games.
That's fair. All right, so this is a question I always ask because of the type of runs that I do. I do exclusively glitchless runs. Nothing against glitched runs. It's just not my cup of tea in terms of the story / content games that I do. In fact, in my deathless runs, I'll watch all cutscenes and try to get all dialogue throughout the game, so I won't actually skip anything. But one of the things that was really nice about the Arkham speedrunning and Arkham community is that the categories existed for glitchless runs, that these are things you can do. You know, did you have any hand in putting together the rules for those, or were those already sort of in place by the time you joined the community?
A lot of it has already been established for a very long time, because like a lot of it's just like no zips, like don't cancel doors or things like that, and those things have existed forever. There's been like a handful of new things here and there that we've needed to make a decision for, but it doesn't happen too often.
So let me ask you a question then about the community, because you just mentioned this community has been around for a while. How would you regard the popularity and the population level of community? Has it sort of stayed the same for a while? Has it been decreasing? Has it been increasing? I know that Arkham Knight, came out quite a while ago at this point. Well, probably makes me feel old, honestly, but
yeah, no kidding. Feels like it was just yesterday.
Yes. Just yesterday, I'm watching my roommate at college just butcher the tank combat so badly. I'm like, just give me the controller. Don't try it. You're not there.
But yeah, I would say the community has grown quite a lot, at least in the time I've been in it. Obviously it comes and goes, but the community was very small when I joined, and there's a lot of runners now.
Any up and coming runners you want to give a shout out to that look like they're making improvements, or?
I would say, let's see.
Anyone who's pushing for world firsts, or not world first, but first place.
Yeah, I would say the first person that comes to mind is Folk. He mainly used to run City, and he has like quite a lot of world records in that, especially in glitchless. But he's starting to run the other games a lot more, and like I think he could be a top overall runner if he keeps doing what he's doing.
Very cool. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious then about the level of you mentioned that he actually plays glitchless, which to my experience is sort of rare for someone at that level to be interested in glitchless, because I know a lot of people generally aren't. For example, Jedi Fallen Order doesn't even have a glitchless category, mostly due to arguments over what counts as a glitch and what doesn't. And let me ask you then about that, because one of my earliest experiences with glitched runs was watching a speedrun of Arkham City, which is drastically different than if you're just sort of playing through casually. How much of the game would you say Arkham City skips in a speedrun?
I believe it's only like a 25-minute difference between glitchless and 90%, which I guess is like a third of the game, give or take.
Okay. Cool.
It feels like it should be more, because there's just so many skips and so many glitches, but yeah.
So you mentioned at the start of the interview that you first saw a GDQ. Have you ever had the chance to go to a GDQ?
I did one of the online GDQs. It was SGDQ 2020.
Okay.
But I have not physically gone to one yet. Hopefully someday.
I'm hoping to be able to go to a GDQ next year. I think that would be a lot of fun. But
I did just go to the European Speedrunning Assembly, ESA.
Okay.
That was in Sweden. That was a lot of fun.
Cool.
I ran Asylum 80% there.
Are you in Europe?
No.
Okay.
I'm in Canada.
That's quite a hike then. No. Yes. I live somewhere in Minnesota, so we're sort of like neighbors-ish. Yeah. Canada's pretty big. You probably don't live anywhere. Just population size, yeah. But one of the interesting things that I've come across in talking with speedrunners and other community members is that people who are a lot more intentional about games tend to play it a lot longer. So for me, at this point, like I sort of have this, this career. I have other things that I'm doing in real life that are important, I guess you could say. But at the same time, I'm still playing games. I'm still playing MMOs. I'm still working on Arkham Asylum. Um, have you found any good ways to try to balance that? Um, the gaming as a hobby slash part time job slash full time job, as opposed to the rest of IRL.
Yeah. I have not basically. I do not have a good balance in my life in general. There's just like there's so many things I want to do all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have a full-time job outside of streaming. I stream a lot. I want to play lots of video games. I want to like work on game development side projects. Um, I watch a lot of TV and movies. And I have a social life somehow that I fit in there.
That's great. Speaking of that, now I think we have to move a little bit away from. You mentioned TV and movies, so now we have to move a tiny bit away from the gaming exclusive side of this conversation to da 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 Batman. Batman's my favorite superhero. He's always been my favorite superhero, and to me, the Arkham games really were the first games I ever played where I felt like I am Batman. It's voiced by Kevin Conroy, the best Batman, in my opinion. Mark Hamill is the Joker. Do you have a favorite Batman movie, Batman series?
For movie, right now, I really like The Batman, the newest one that just came out. I have been avoiding rewatching it. I've seen it twice, and I've been avoiding rewatching it a third time because I want to have like as fresh of a perspective as possible when I watch it again to see if I like actually liked it or if it was just like the new cool thing.
It's good. It amazes me how they can make a new movie every couple of years and deliver a fresh perspective every time. It's almost like you can't miss. Well, you can miss with Batman. We both know that, but it seems like it's more rare than not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For series, I'm a huge fan of Brave and the Bold.
Really, Brave and the Bold. For me, it's a little bit more hit and miss, but it has some of the best single Batman moments.
Yeah.
The episode.
I also like.
Oh, sorry.
I like that it introduces a lot of like more obscure DC characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I learned about a lot of characters through that show. Like Red Tornado, he doesn't come up in anything ever.
I got introduced to Red Tornado in Young Justice.
Okay.
That was one of my first experiences of watching television show where me and my brother would watch it on release every single week. Every single week it was time for Young Justice, and so we'd roll out. And so anyone who's actually a big fan of Young Justice knows that they frequently altered the schedule. So this was not helpful for me and my brother. But way back when, and this was before we didn't have TV as a kid. We really didn't. We didn't have access to the internet, not too much. What we did have was a VHS copy of the first few Batman the Animated Series episodes. I think the first 5 or 6. And then we had TV when we visited my grandmother's house. And so we could watch Batman the Animated Series like reruns on Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So for me, Batman always was. I don't know. I don't exactly know why I think he was why he was the coolest hero. Maybe he was just the one I had the most exposure to.
Could be.
In some ways, he's the most relatable DC character and the least relatable DC character. Because on one hand, he doesn't have any superpowers. So in theory, every, young kid was like, I could, in theory, grow up to be Batman if I really wanted. Of course, in reality, like, no, that's not
Maybe
happening.
if you win the lottery.
Oh, you'd have to win a couple lotteries. Yeah. I think at some point, in order to make the series happen, the amount of money Bruce Wayne has is just marked as infinite. Because there's no reason he should, have enough money to build a watchtower satellite in orbit and then just disguise it in the budget somewhere. It's, oh, don't pay attention to the $2 trillion we spent. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, for me, I've always been a Marvel fan, a DC fan. I've always loved those stories, and Batman has always... I don't know. Batman's always been a big part of that. So, what are you currently working on in terms of challenges, in terms of games? What have you set forth in your path to try to accomplish?
To be honest, I'm sort of in between ideas at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was running Asylum 100% for quite a while to prepare for ESA, and then I didn't really have a plan for after that. And it's like 2 weeks later, and I still haven't nailed anything down. I feel like in the last like couple months in general, I've kind of just been jumping around to random categories as I feel like it. I haven't like had a committed grind to anything in a while. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's about time I find one.
Well, I wish you the best of luck on that. Do you have any final thoughts you wanted to say? Anything you think would be interesting for people watching this to know, either from your channel or mine?
Nothing immediately comes to mind.
All right. Well, I would like to thank you for speaking with me on this Friday. For viewers of my channel, know I want to continue to do this with runners from different speedrunning communities as I journey through the games. So I think I'm going to try to hit my 3-hour Arkham Asylum glitchless percent run, 100% glitchless, and then probably just do the other categories just so that I have the runs. I won't necessarily work too hard on them though. And then we'll see what happens. Oh, is someone up to date on like verifying runs on speedrun.com?
What do you mean?
Like, do people, like, I assume people will do that if I post it on
Oh,
this
yeah.
show. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right. Well, thank you very much again for dropping by.
Thanks for having me.
All right.